have been snatched and taken to Spain. Well, there have been developments in that story, and we're hoping to bring you those tomorrow. This morning, in our latest child abduction case, we're highlighting the story of a father whose son was abducted on a family holiday in Greece. Sue Jamieson is in Bolton with the full story. Sue, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, John. Well, this morning we're telling you the story of Christopher Lomax, who is now 11 years old. He was born and brought up the first part of his life here in Bolton, but he has not been here now for 4 years. Now, come and meet his dad, Ian, who has fought so hard for 4 years to see him, and also his new wife, Susie, and they have got a baby of 4.5 months now. Now, Ian, it was on his 7th birthday, wasn't it, that the nightmare actually began for you?
Yeah, see, I thought everything was fine. I didn't know what was going on. And his birthday was on the Wednesday, and she'd took him on the Thursday. The day after his 7th birthday, I just received a phone call saying that she's not coming home, and Christopher's living in Greece. And I just couldn't understand the phone calls in total shock. I just thought, you know, she was playing with me. You know, it was just total shock.
How have you managed to keep going for these 4 years? I mean, you've certainly had help from the local newspaper has been very good here and helped you go out to Greece and so on, but, I mean, you didn't know what you were getting into, did you?
No, I've had a lot of advice from Reunite. They give me a lot of information, and I've also been there when I've ever needed them. They've been like friends to me, you know, they've always been there when I needed them. And, you know, and the people at Bolton have been very kind to me as well. They give me a lot of support. Now,
the thing was that your wife was Greek, you're British, your son was born here and lived here. It's not the same as our case yesterday where there was, you know, the child had lived in Spain for a year. He'd lived in Britain, and yet you still haven't been able to get him to come to England.
No. Under the Hague Convention, the child should be returned to the country of residence. But the Greeks have stated by Section 13b, it will be psychological damage for the child to go away from his mother.
Now, you have, however, fought so hard. You've managed to get some access to Christopher. Now, you didn't see him for a whole year, did you?
No.
But now you've got some access.
The court order I have is excellent. I can see him at Christmas, summer holidays for 2 weeks, any week I want to go over. And the access said it's very, very good, and, you know, I have to be grateful for small mercies, you know, with the Greek government. And it's just so great I can see my son again, like you said, not seen him for a full year.
And you've introduced him to his little sister now as well?
Yeah, I took her over 3 weeks ago, me, Susie and Amy Louise. Yeah. And it was, you know, fantastic. It was, even for me, it was very strange because, you know, having another child, because I've usually gone to Greece on my own, and, you know, it was so emotional, you know, for the family to be together.
So I know that what you're trying to do now is to actually get access so he can come back to England for some of the visits, but at least you've got this far now. So it's a story with almost a happy ending. Back to you.
Good to hear, Sue. Thanks very much indeed. Let me tell you, we're talking to Rosie Winterton. She's the government minister who we'll be talking to a little bit later on about the issues raised, not just by that story, but all the stories we're highlighting this week.
This morning, in our latest abduction, Jameson is there, and she's got this story for us. Sue, tell us this one.
Yes, good morning, Eamon. I think we can all imagine the emotional trauma of having a child abducted. But if you decide to fight to get them back, then this is the bureaucratic reality. This is 4 years' worth of documents and the fight that Ian Lomax has made to get back his son, Christopher, who was just 7 when he was taken away. Now, all this also means that you've had a lot of trauma in the courts as well, doesn't it? It's been very difficult.
Yes. The court case, I mean, in Greece they don't have family courts. So when I was actually in the courts, the judge was dealing with petty criminals, and I had to see the same judge dealing with the Hague Convention. And personally, I think the judge should be more experienced. It should be an independent judge who's more experienced with the Hague Convention. Because
you had to prove that you weren't abusive, you weren't an alcoholic, that all these things, these allegations that had been levelled at you, totally unfounded.
Yeah, she was accusing me of all kinds of things, and the only thing I said in court was that I still loved her, and that I still have her back even though she's done what she did.
Now, when you actually came back here, it was on his 7th birthday, wasn't it, that he was taken away?
She took him the day after his 7th birthday, and the day before I came back to England.
And you came back here with 2 empty plane seats beside you, and you said you didn't go into his room at all then?
I stayed at my mum's for 6 weeks because I couldn't come back into the house. because it was just too much for me, you know. And my family have been very good to me, and the people of Bolton are supporting me, and that's what's really helped me.
You've had a tremendous local support, haven't you? The local newspaper, people giving you help to be able to go out there and fight this case through the courts.
Yeah, the people have done an appeal for me through the newspapers, and I've had all people having jumbo sales to raise money to help me with the appeal fund, so I can have money paid towards a lawyer before going to Greece. You know, and it's seeing people like that, old people, it really gives you strength.
Yes, Susie, how's it been for you? Because you've been with Ian during this time, and you've just got a new baby now, 4.5-month-old. It must be difficult for you too, coming into this situation.
It does put an emotional strain on your marriage, as well as a financial strain as well, having to find money to go over to Greece 3 or 4 times a year as well.
Yes, and because you've got Amy now, there's a lovely little card here which is from Christopher saying, "I'm very happy I have a sister I always wanted. I'm sorry I cannot be there, but I will see you next year." And you are getting there now, aren't you, Ian?
Yes, social services in Greece are helping me. They're trying to talk to Helen to encourage the child that he must come to England, because it's not just a matter about the mother and father, it's the child what matters, and it's important that he loves both cultures.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he was born in England, lived in England most of his life, and he has a family too in England.
Right. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. You've certainly gone a long way with all this. Back to you.
So thank you. A dilemma, of course, no one would want to find themselves in. Listening to that in the studio is Rosie Winterton. She is the minister responsible for child abductions. And I have to say, Rosie, that first of all, I didn't realise there was a minister for that. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. A good thing that you're there, a bad thing that there is a demand for you to be there.
Well, we have within the Lord Chancellor's Department a child abduction unit, hence why you say Minister for Child Abduction. And what we try to do is offer practical help to people like Mr Lomax when they're processing their applications through the court.
Okay, and how practical does that help get?
Well, what we do is we would process the application that Mr Lomax would make, and then we would chase up the appropriate courts in another country to make sure that progress is being made on the case.
Have advances been made in this area? I get the impression that we do these stories quite a lot, that they're all very sad and there's 2 sides to every story, but that they're all a bit sort of futile and nothing can really be done about it.
Oh no, I think there's a lot of progress being made in recent years, and progress recently. I mean, for example, we're improving all the time the way the Hague Convention is working.
Yeah.
We now have agreement that there will be mutual recognition of court orders in different countries. It isn't easy, but what we have to do is make sure that we work with the courts of other countries, and our judiciary have been very helpful in this respect.
Right, so there is an understanding building up, this is not being dismissed. And I just think, just one final point, that I think it's important to stress that people in this country are not always the victims in this, when you look at the figures.
No, I mean, this is a two-way process, and what we're very proud of in this country is that we have a system at the moment whereby 8 out of 10 children who are abducted are returned, and we want to see and want to work with other countries to make sure they meet that same level of effectiveness.
You were saying that last year, for the first time, more children were abducted to this country than from this country.
Well, the figures vary, and that's true. But the other thing that I think is important to stress at the moment is that through organisations like Reunite, which my department funds, we are able to raise awareness of the problem. And I know that Mr Lomax found Reunite extremely helpful in his situation.
Well, we've got a phone number for them, which we're now just going to put up on screen there. That is their line, and they are open until, they open from 9:30 this morning.
Of Ian Lomax. Now, Ian's son Christopher was snatched by his mother during a family holiday in Greece. Ian, his new wife Susie and baby Amy Louise are in their home in Bolton this morning for us. Good morning to you, good to see you. Very, very tough time it is for you, Ian. Now, what happened? You all went to Greece on holiday, didn't you? You and your first wife and your wee boy.
That's right, yeah. I went to holiday for 2 weeks. I didn't know anything, the plan of the abduction. I thought everything was fine. She took him the day after his 7th birthday, I had a phone call saying that she weren't coming back to England and that Christopher's staying in Greece, and then just put the phone down. The mother-in-law just kicked me out of the house and said, "You're never going to see your wife and child again." And that was it. I was just in total shock. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. So I had to go back to England. The 2 empty seats next to me was just terrible. Just
Ian,
terrible.
so you had this situation where you go on holiday, because your wife is from Greece originally, isn't she? She's Greek. You go on holiday back to see her family, you know, you go there with the boy, and then she goes, and no warning at all. You had no idea this was going to happen.
I had no idea at all. I just thought everything was fine. She must have been a good actress because she was being nice to me on holiday and was going out every day. And like I said, he had on his 7th birthday, which was on a Wednesday, I thought everything was fine. On the Thursday, I had a telephone call saying that she weren't coming back to England, and Christopher was living in Greece, and just put the phone down. The next thing, the mother-in-law said to me, "You must leave the house, you're never going to see your wife and child again." So I was just in total shock. They just threw my suitcase out the house. I was just in total shock. I didn't know what to believe. I was just in total shock. I didn't know what was going on and what I was believing.
It's horrible, Ian. It's a dreadful, dreadful situation. Horrifying. It really is. Now, obviously, when you get back home and, you know, you try to come to terms with what's happened, what sort of help did you get? What sort of legal advice did you get, Ian?
Well, I got in touch with Reunite, and they gave me a lot of information, how to go about, you know, the legal things, how to go about it, getting the child returned to England. They gave me a lot of advice, and they've also become friends, and they've always been there if I needed them, to talk to them. They've been very, very good.
But what's the situation at the moment? When was the last time you saw your little boy?
I saw him in November,
Right.
3 weeks ago.
So there's still contact there?
Yeah, I've got access in Greece. The court order is excellent. You know, the Greek courts have been fine. They give me access for 2 years, where I can see him at Christmas, which I saw him last year. I can see him on his own. Helen, my ex-wife, wanted supervision twice a year. Just sit in a room for 1 hour, for say half an hour, for twice a year, and that's what she wanted. And the judge said no, he must see his child. And I've been seeing him now for the last 2 years.
That's
and I'm
good.
just waiting now to go back to court.
Yeah, because, I mean, at least there's a relationship there, because it would have been awful to lose him completely. Now, obviously, you've since divorced, you've remarried, and we saw you've got a little baby girl, but she's got a brother that she'll want to, a half-brother, but a brother really, that she'll want to have a relationship with as well.
Yeah, well, Christopher saw his sister for the first time in November, which was a traumatic experience, because he thinks that, because I'm living in England now with his sister, that I don't love him. And for 2.5 years I never went into his room, and it was only 6 months ago I decorated his room, and he's very upset because he wants to come back to England and remember the way he left it. And but he's fine now. He was very jealous at the beginning, but he's got very close to his daughter, to his sister, sorry.
Of course.
And you know, it's just heartbreaking. But if there's any people watching outside, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I've been arrested by the police with the press delivering his Christmas presents. I've received death threats, and I've carried on. I've been through the courts. We've been accused of many things. I've cleared my name in the courts. So there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. And it's
you've
really
got to think about the people.
It's really good that you've got that relationship with him. You will always have that. He knows that you fought so hard to, you know, to be a dad to your son. And hopefully, I know you've got to do battle again with the courts, but hopefully that will work out. But whatever happens, your son knows that you love him very much. It's been great to talk to you, Ian. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Right, and we'll have more of GMTV's Tug of Love child abductions tomorrow.